Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the best animated shows ever, so far, with MC and Troy.
We have to start a new episode. Hello, I'm Troy.
And I'm MC. And
this
is...
Oh, you take it. Yeah, do it.
And this is Best Animated Shows Ever. So far.
There it is.
Okay, I agree with you that might have been a little bit too long.
It's hard to do it when you're the one saying it. You're just like... So far. We are here today to talk about the second episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, which includes the stories Bubblestand and Ripped Pants.
Yep.
But before we get into that, can I tell you about some of the other key creators from SpongeBob SquarePants?
Yes, please
There's
do.
two names that I came across that I wanted to bring up here because we will definitely talk about both of them more in future things. So these were people who helped out when the show was being created. The first is Derek Dryman. He was one of the creatives and one of the writers, and I think one of the storyboard artists, I think, as well, maybe? Oh, my notes are incomplete. But I know we'll talk about him again because he also worked on Doug. Yes. Action League Now. Yes. Hey Arnold. Yes. And Rocko's Modern Life.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic. And then Alan Smart was the animation director on the show and also supervising director. He worked on Cat Dog, Hey Arnold, Rocko's Modern Life, Ren and Stimpy, which, knowing that he's the animation director, makes a lot of sense because SpongeBob does some of the same animation tricks that Ren and Stimpy used to do.
Yeah.
And he also directed the Simpsons episode Flamin' Moe's. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The drink that Homer made up and then Moe stole.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I thought that was cool. I was just looking through other names and I was like, man, this was kind of a golden age of Nicktoons, and it's kind of cool that these people...
Yeah, the late 90s? Yeah.
Yeah, that these people worked on all of those shows. I mean, those shows were all instrumental in my growing up, if anything more so than SpongeBob, because basically everybody who worked on SpongeBob, from what I can tell, pretty much has worked on SpongeBob since it started. But before SpongeBob, they worked on a bunch of shows that I used to watch. And then SpongeBob happened, and that just became everybody's careers. Because, like you said, it's been almost 20 years that it's been on the air.
So I gotta mention this because you brought them up.
Sure.
Rocko's Modern Life, Hey Arnold. There was another one that you said.
Doug?
Doug.
Action League Now?
Like all those, like I grew up with those.
Mm-hmm.
Those were my shows. So much so that I kind of stole Arnold's look. Kind of.
Okay.
I wear flannel a lot. Like I do tend to wear flannel when the weather permits it. But a couple of years ago, I started wearing like sweaters over the flannel, like pullovers.
It's a good look.
Yeah, it's like, and you have the shirt, the flannel hang out the bottom, and I was like, I actually had like the red flannel shirt and the green sweater, and I tended to wear that a fair bit. In fact, a couple of years ago when we met up in the pub, I'm pretty sure I was wearing that exact outfit. And I was like, do you like my Hey Arnold look?
It's a good look, man. The Hey Arnold look, it works. It's timeless. For my memory, my biggest memory from those shows is Doug. There's the one episode where they sing the song about Big, and they all have like big inflated bodies while they're singing the song. And this is like a 1 minute bit on the show. I have nightmares about that segment. I have nightmares that like one of my arms has just swollen to like 100 times the size it's supposed to be, but the rest of me is normal, and I've just got this one big swollen arm hanging off the end of me, and it's from Doug. It is absolutely Doug's fault that I have that nightmare.
I don't actually remember the song or anything, but I remember Patty Mayonnaise blowing up. Like,
Yep.
that, I remember that vividly. Like, don't remember the song. So, you want to get into Bubblestand?
Let's talk about Bubblestand. Tell me what happens in Bubblestand, MC.
So, this starts off with a nice peaceful morning. SpongeBob comes out and he starts constructing a stand of some sort. And it's very loud. And Squidward pokes his head out, being a grump, tells him to keep it down. He's trying to make art or something. And SpongeBob tries to continue to make the stand as quietly as possible. And then when Squidward starts playing his clarinet real loud, SpongeBob makes his stand real quick, and it turns out it's a bubble stand, and he's charging 25 cents for people to blow bubbles. And that's where the episode starts, and it goes into how he has a technique to blowing bubbles, and he'll teach you how to blow bubbles. And he makes really intricate bubbles, and then Squidward is being a big grump, and he's like, he finally pays to blow a bubble, and he finally does the technique after failing a whole bunch, and it comes back to haunt him because the giant bubble comes and picks up his home and drop it, and when it bursts, there's a loud bang, and his home falls out of the top of the ocean back to the sea floor.
So I have a question for you to start off
Yeah?
this one. Is Squidward supposed to be actually good at clarinet?
So in this episode, there's a part, I'm guessing because he gains confidence from blowing that massive bubble, where he actually gets good because he has confidence, and he's actually, you know, he because he gets this confidence or whatever, it's like, okay, now I can make my art, sort of thing. Like, I've made this beautiful piece of art. Let me because he's kind of down, and he gets called mediocre at some point.
That's
it's by
that's
Plankton. Yeah,
Plankton. Yeah.
yeah.
I had a different read on what happened here because, and I may be remembering it incorrectly, but I think that at the beginning, when Squidward's like, "Shut up! I'm trying to play clarinet here," and then we see inside his house, he's playing and it sounds good, and then it's like SpongeBob outside and it sounds bad. So I think whenever it's from Squidward's perspective, it sounds good because he thinks he's a good player.
Oh, I totally didn't catch that.
I think that's what's happening. I think Squidward is actually very bad at clarinet, but he thinks he's good at it. So whenever he's playing for himself, we hear it as good because that's how he hears himself. Kind of like my ukulele playing. I think I can play ukulele decently. I know I can't, but I like to think that I can.
I didn't catch that, but you might actually be correct.
I
Like,
think that's what's happening.
it could be a perspective thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. I
like the chirping scallop that's right at the beginning. That's part of the peaceful morning.
didn't notice that.
He mentions it. It's like the scallops,
The
are
scallops
chirping.
Is this
Yeah.
our French narrator coming in again?
No,
remember.
I think that was
Or is that
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob himself. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember which one said it, but a scallop comes past. It's like the little orange clam thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like tweet, 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 tweet as it flies past. No, missed it.
No. Well, no, not that I missed it. I'm just shaking my head at it. Just like the Gary thing. That's not funny to me. I don't understand why that's funny. I don't get it. For some reason, I just I have it's not even that I don't think it's funny. It's like I have a revulsion to that. I'm like, no, I don't know why, but it makes me mad. Scallops don't chirp, MC. Birds chirp.
I mean, that. How do we know that they don't chirp?
I'm about to walk out of this podcast right now. You know damn well they don't chirp. I like SpongeBob quietly trying to hammer the nail in.
Oh, yeah.
That got me. I don't know why that got me, but it made me so happy that he tries to...
So he's being all loud, and Squidward's like, "Can you be quiet? I'm trying to play in here." And then you go to SpongeBob, and he's like,
Tap, tap, tap.
It's so funny.
Dumb. I don't know why, but that cracked me up. Chirping scallops? No, I'm not here for it. But tapping on a hammer really quietly? Yes. Perfect.
Not getting anything done. And then as soon as the clarinet playing starts up, he's just like, well, he's being noisy.
Yeah, and then he goes nuts on it.
Yeah.
And then we get SpongeBob teaching Patrick how to blow bubbles. First, he has to loan Patrick a quarter, which is just like the most wonderful and sweet and innocent moment. Is SpongeBob charging 25 cents for bubbles, but also loaning a quarter to Patrick so Patrick can pay 25 cents to blow bubbles. Yes, I am so here for it. That is just
and it doesn't happen just this once to blow the bubble. It happens again later when he wants the lesson.
And he loans him 25 cents again.
I think in my notes somewhere it's like, is that the same 25 cents?
He just gives it back to Patrick so Patrick can give it back to him. It's just SpongeBob is interesting because the characters are old enough, and you know, heavy quotes on old enough, that they're getting jobs and getting driver's licenses and stuff. But moments like this, I'm like, that is just like pure like childhood sweetness. Is that SpongeBob is charging to blow bubbles because he's making the lemonade stand of the sea, but also he's loaning people money so that they can pay him to blow. Like, it's just, I'm like, that's perfect. It's so sweet childhood wonderfulness.
I think SpongeBob's supposed to be ageless, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff that happens, like him getting his job and the driving school, that's all stuff that like 15-year-old kids do, isn't it? Yeah, like
I think that's the idea. SpongeBob, if he had to have an age, I think he's like a very, very young adult. But
see, here's the thing, that's the stuff that like 15-year-olds do. But then at the same time, he's living on his own with a pet.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that's a completely like adult thing. Like, and then he acts sometimes just like a child. Like in this episode, he builds a stand to blow bubbles. Like,
yeah,
it's a very childish thing to be doing. Like, I think SpongeBob is supposed to be all ages.
Yeah,
like he's not supposed
all
to be a specific. Yeah, he's not supposed to be a specific age. It's like he's ageless. He is like this.
And I guess that's kind of unique, isn't it? Because most cartoons, the characters are going to fit into some sort of an age, a little more resolute.
Yeah.
Like even Rocko's Modern Life, like from my memory, he is firmly an adult. Like,
yeah, he is an adult.
That's kind of interesting. It didn't occur to me that was kind of unique, but I think it is at least kind of unique.
I'm not sure if there are like we might come across more things like this. Like, well, I'm pretty sure Smurfs are ageless as well.
Which one?
Smurfs. All of them.
Yeah,
like,
I don't remember
like
Smurfs
Papa
that well, so I can't say.
Papa Smurf's the only one that's like got a beard and stuff, and that might be considered an adult.
Yeah.
But the rest seem to be like, they don't seem to have like ages or jobs or any of that stuff. Like, they have roles that they play because of their names, but
yeah,
I can't think of any other like shows that do that. So it's like
we'll see. We will see.
But yeah, it's like in this episode when it's like Squidward's being sarcastic at him about like, so SpongeBob loans the quarter to Patrick. Patrick gives it back. He tries to blow the bubble. He fails by doing
blows bad.
Yeah, he does a raspberry noises, just like
it upset me. This was another one of those things where I was like, oh, I don't like this, and it goes on for so dang long that he's spitting, and oh, I don't like it. I don't like it.
I like here, in between, Patrick shows up, borrows a quarter from SpongeBob for a bubble, and Patrick blowing the raspberries. It in between those two notes, there's just a note that says Squidward is sarcastic. That's
Squidward is sarcastic. True facts.
I'm guessing he poked his head out the window and it's like, who would ever pay to blow bubbles or whatever?
He does. He yells that. He goes, who would ever pay to blow bubbles? And then Patrick Rocks lifts up ominously like, oh, hello, did someone summon me to pay to blow bubbles?
And then I'm guessing it was like, oh, I remember now, because Squidward watches SpongeBob give Patrick the quarter, and then Patrick gives the quarter back. He's like, oh, it's a booming business.
Yeah, that's right. He does say that. Making fun of the childlike wonder of loaning quarters and then getting quarters.
Yeah.
So then we get to the bubble blowing technique, which has bring it around town. Again, another thing where I'm like, holy smokes, I didn't realize this was this early in SpongeBob.
Bring it around
town. Also, pelvic thrusting means something different in Bikini Bottom, I guess, than it does everywhere else. Because in Bikini Bottom, pelvic thrusting just means flying. Just fly for a while, do a pelvic thrust and fly for a while. So yeah, SpongeBob teaches Patrick the technique, and Patrick blows awesome bubbles. So then Squidward comes out.
No. Patrick doesn't blow the awesome bubbles. It's SpongeBob who blows all the awesome bubbles. And then at the end, he blows like this giant elephant, and Patrick goes, "Oh, giraffe!
It's a giraffe!" That was another one of those lines where I'm like, I don't know why, but that made me giggle so much. He blows this like perfect elephant, and stupid Patrick goes, "It's a giraffe!"
Yeah, and then when the bubble pops, it goes,
yeah. And that's when, so then Squidward comes out, and he yells at him, and then tries to blow a bubble, and SpongeBob shows up and charges him for it.
No, so what happens is Squidward comes out and starts yelling at him for making all this noise while he's trying to make art, and those two hide behind the stand, like they're crouching behind the stand, like not really hiding as Squidward's yelling at them, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a big kid thing to do, like when you get in trouble, just hide behind something but not actually hide. I'm like, oh, this is such kid behavior. It's awesome.
This is true.
And then Squidward is yelling at them, and then it's like SpongeBob's like, oh, I'm trying to do this lesson to blow these like really cool bubbles, and Squidward yells at him about how stupid that is, and then SpongeBob, all dejected, goes back inside, and Squidward's left with the bubble stand and the bubbles there, and he's like looking around, no one's around, and he's like, okay, yeah, just one bubble, and he goes and picks it up, and that's when SpongeBob comes back up, and it's like you don't even see him come out of the house. He just goes, that'll be 25 cents.
Yep, and he pays and tries to blow a bubble, and it's real bad.
It's a tiny little thing that just drops onto the ground and pops.
So he tries again, and this is where...
Oh, there's like a whole, like... at the end of it, it's like there's like 20 quarters or something.
Oh yeah, because every time he tries to blow a bubble, he throws a quarter on the counter.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, SpongeBob and Patrick are yelling at him over and over again about technique. You do the technique. Do the technique. You gotta do the technique. You go around town, then you
and they're doing it in the background.
This like gave me anxiety. I hated this MC. This is so weird. Like I liked this show, but the show has a bunch of moments that made me like physically anxious, like jittery, and this was one of them where I was like, stop yelling about the technique, stop yelling about the technique, because they just keep saying the technique. You gotta go around town, do the hop 3 times and turn around. I sometimes when I'm in a crowded store, I will like start to have a panic attack, and I'll turn to my wife and be like, hey, I need to leave right now, because there's too many things happening, there's too much sound or visual, like I have to go and I will just peace out of the store. It happens sometimes. This episode almost did that to me when they were yelling at Squidward about the technique and Squidward's trying to blow and they keep yelling about. There was so much happening that I was like literally shaking. It was so.
I'm not joking. I know exactly what you're talking about. I have some coping mechanisms that I do when I'm in sort of those situations. I went out Christmas shopping yesterday. So I tend to do this a lot when I plan to go out. I plan to go out for like 3 hours. And do everything that I need to in those 3 hours, because in my mind I'm like, you just got to get it all done. Once it's all done, you can go back. You don't have to deal with all this crowd and all the noise and all the people. Like in my head, so
you have like a time escape route, basically. Like at this time, I'll be done.
Yeah, and I have this thing like I'll like rub my fingers, or I'll like finger like I'm playing bass, like just on my legs. It's just like a grounding exercise. Like it's like don't worry about anything else. Just concentrate on this one little thing. Don't pay attention to anything else around you. Just concentrate on this one little thing that you're doing. This little sensation. Just concentrate on that, and that kind of works for me. It blocks out a lot of the other like crap around me. Yeah. So I had a big moment like that yesterday, and I don't like driving, and there was a small little incident that happened in the parking lot. So I'm coming up and around, so you know the multi-tiered parking structures.
Sure. Yeah.
I was going up to like level 3 because it was close to where I needed to get what I needed to get, and coming up onto 2, there was a car apparently off to my right. It was like a black car, and it was in a dark area, and I didn't see it, and I pulled out in front of it apparently, and all of a sudden I hear beep. I look up and I'm about to wave at this person, being like, "Sorry, I didn't see you," and I look up into my rearview mirror, and he's just like yelling and flipping me off and like beeping the horn still, and I'm like, "Oh, he's over aggressive. He's probably an asshole." He probably deserved that. I'm not going to feel bad about cutting that guy off. That was my little reaction. I was like, nah, screw it. Even though, like, I had that moment of, like, oh, crap, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I had that moment of, like, panic in the parking lot. But as soon as I saw that guy, like, doing all this, like, hyper-aggressive... Yeah, I was like, oh, fuck that asshole. It was an immediate. Oh no, he deserved that. That's fine.
That's really funny. Yeah, I where was I? I recently had a similar thing where like I turned and just completely did not see somebody and ended up like in front of them, and it was like 100% my fault. And for like 3 days afterwards, I felt so bad about it. And like nothing happened, nobody got hit or anything. But I just like when something like that happens, I feel so much guilt. But yeah, in that circumstance where the person's a jerk, who cares?
No, like I don't know. Well, here's the thing: like the dark spot, like the dark patch of area in there, it was like, oh, I'm trying to think of it in feet now. Crap, it's like 20 feet back, or maybe 15, but. It was far enough away that I safely got out.
Yeah.
He might have had to, like, slow down a bit. That was the biggest thing.
So
like,
you didn't, yeah, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
No, it wasn't a big deal, but he was overreacting, so I was like, oh, screw it. Like...
You don't have to feel bad in that circumstance. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, so then Squidward gets all huffy about the technique and, like, does it in jest, like, mocking them over how stupid the technique is. And, of course, blows a perfect bubble.
Oh, he doesn't he, like, yell a perfect bubble?
Well, yeah, he's not exactly blowing.
Yeah. And it's like this massive giant bubble, and it's perfectly spherical, and it floats away.
He's not exactly blowing. He's blowharding, though.
Yeah.
Because he's a blowhard.
Yeah.
That's a phrase. His house flows away, and then it pops and falls back down.
No. First, he goes back inside, and he's like, "Oh, you had nothing to do with that. That perfect piece of art was all me." And then he goes back inside, and you hear him playing clarinet, really good this time. Like,
he's
I
rocking
don't
it.
understand.
And again, I think he just thinks he's rocking it. I don't think he's actually rocking it. That's all in his head.
And that's when the bubble comes back and picks up his house and floats away with it. But one of the things is that Patrick and SpongeBob are really supportive, and they're like, "Go, Squidward, go," or they're like, "Squidward, Squidward, Squidward." And then when his house starts floating away, it starts becoming a panic Squidward, and he finally looks out the window, and he's like hundreds of feet up in the air, or water, I guess.
Yeah, 100 feet above the seabed.
Yeah.
I think up in the air is fair.
And then there's a loud boom off screen.
Yeah.
And you see his house fall back into the spot that it floated away from, but now it's at an angle.
Yep, it just crashes back, except for slightly off.
Yeah, and he goes back to playing clarinet, I think, badly. Or was it bad when...
I don't remember. I think I just got hooked on the idea that it's just bad all the time and he thinks it's good and stopped paying attention from there.
Fair enough. But yeah, that's the end of the episode.
I think the message on this one... the message on this episode for me was, if someone clearly knows what they're doing and is trying to help you, listen to them.
Yeah.
Which I think is good.
Also, maybe don't be such an asshole. It could come back to backfire on you.
Yeah, I think just every episode with Squidward has the message, don't be such an asshole. Like I said in the last episode, Squidward is bothersome to me because he is such a goddamn jerk all the time, and people love him. And I know they love him, just like the Grinch. Like, you love him for his awfulness, but he just makes me mad, where I'm like, dude, stop. My problems with Squidward are directly related to the fluid age thing for SpongeBob, because my what I almost just said was, dude, stop being such a jerk. They're just kids being kids. Except, again, I don't think they are. I think that SpongeBob and Patrick are sometimes young adults, and as young adults behaving like that, I hate them. I hate them so much, where I'm like, you damn kids. Like, I have that reaction. But if they're 18 and they're behaving the way that they are, I hate them. If they're 8 years old and they're behaving the way they are, it's endearing. And I think in this episode, they were supposed to be 8 years old. But if we ignore the fluid age idea and say that we have to give SpongeBob and Patrick an age, I think it would be like 16 to 18. And as 16 to 18-year-olds, I hate them so damn much. No. I hate them.
When you think about it, they're living on their own, so it's like 18 to 20.
I hate them even more.
But, see, here's the thing. I'm fine with... Like, I was a dumbass kid.
Yeah, I was too, and I would hate me if I met me as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. Like, we gotta think about that, but then at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, but we understand, like, you can act like a dumbass kid and not be a dumbass kid when you're a dumbass kid. But as soon as you get older, you're like, oh, I was a dumbass kid. It's your perspective as you get older.
It makes me wonder what I would have thought of this show when I was 18. I wonder if Patrick and SpongeBob would have been annoying to me at that point, or if I would have thought they were hilarious.
Yeah, I stopped watching it when I was like 14, 15 sort of thing. I don't think their behavior is problematic for any of the characters right in this episode. It's not problematic. It's just like annoying.
Right.
All of them. Like not just Patrick and SpongeBob. It's also Squidward because you also want to be like, hey, just let them be kids for as long as they can be kids. Like, you don't want to take away someone's childhood wonder ever.
Yeah, I think my thought process on Squidward is, if I was in this circumstance, I would probably think about behaving the way he behaves, but I wouldn't actually act on it.
Yeah.
Like, I would think, oh God, these damn kids, can you just shut the hell up? But I wouldn't actually say that, whether they were 8 years old or 18 years old. I wouldn't actually say that because that's just mean. But
Yeah.
I would be frustrated with them like he is. I just wouldn't actually act on that frustration.
So, I think there's a lot more polite ways that Squidward could say the things that he does say.
Right.
Like, if there was 18-year-olds acting the way that SpongeBob and Patrick were, I might be like, hey guys, you mind, like, just toning it down a little bit? Like, I don't want you to stop what you're doing. Keep having fun, but can you just be, like, a little quieter? I'm trying to do my own thing over here. And if you come in at it at a polite way, generally they're adults at this point, and they're like, oh, sorry, we're goofing off. Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll try and keep it down a little bit. Like, I have a great example of this. Remember Kat's birthday?
I don't think we should talk about Kat's birthday. I will say, yes, I remember Kat's birthday. That is a great example of this. And we should leave it there because I don't want to record anything about Kat's birthday.
Hey, I dealt with the cop after they got called on us, and we got real quiet for a little bit.
Yes.
We're like, yeah, we're being dumbasses. Sorry, we'll try and keep it down.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about ripped pants.
Ripped pants. So this is one of
story of a
the
girl.
arcs that I remember the most, but I hate the most as well.
Sorry, you said this is, and I sang the story of a girl, and I was really proud of myself. Need you to appreciate my jokes. I hate this too. Why do you hate this?
I can't even tell you why. I think it probably stems from a part of my nostalgia of the show as well, because I didn't like this episode when I was a kid either,
Okay.
and it's like real annoying. And the rip pants thing, SpongeBob pushes it, like he pushes it to the extreme, and I found it annoying even before anyone else in the show finds it annoying this time round, because I knew what was happening. And it's like the first time he did it, I'm like, oh no.
Oh, hang on. Let me summarize. So SpongeBob and Sandy are hanging out at the beach underwater. There's a beach?
It's the Goo Lagoon.
They're hanging out there, and Sandy thinks SpongeBob's funny, and he's real into her, liking him. It's more of, I think every time Sandy's involved with a story, it's gonna make me hate SpongeBob because I think he acts like this all the time around her, and it's awful.
Larry the Lobster shows up.
Yeah, and he's like, let's lift some weights, and SpongeBob can't compete in weightlifting, but then he rips his pants while he's lifting weights. Everybody's like, that's hilarious. So then he just keeps ripping his pants all the time, and the first 18 times that it happens, everybody thinks it's funny, and then the last 3, they're like, this is stupid. And so SpongeBob, I kind of learns
he
a
gets
lesson.
depressed. He gets depressed.
Yeah.
He says he's the biggest loser on the beach. 3 other sea creatures show up, and they sing a song, and they all rip their pants.
50s rock song about losing your friends because you ripped your pants, but then everybody likes him again. So my problem with this, and it sounds like it was yours too, is that the initial joke is, oh, SpongeBob ripped his pants. Isn't that funny? And my reaction was, no, television show. It's not. I don't No,
I've had
it's
that
not
happen
funny.
before. It's really embarrassing, and you kind of just want to get out of the situation before anyone notices.
Yeah, and so
And
then,
if someone notices they tend not to, unless you're like a kid, they tend not to laugh or find it funny. They're like, oh shit, how
they're
can
like
I help you
horrified
get out of
for
this?
you, and it's
Yeah,
so yeah. I didn't think the initial joke was funny, and then the premise of the episode is he just keeps doing it to diminishing returns, which I think the show was trying to say something like, hey, don't push things just to try to fit in, like that kind of stuff, because that's
Yeah.
what he's doing, is he wants to be popular. So
and then in the notebook, it's like he's got notes, and it's like
of all the jokes
yeah.
he's tried.
And the reaction that he's put next to him doesn't match up to the reactions that you actually see happen in the show.
Yeah,
So
he's not realizing that there's diminishing returns on this joke.
Yeah. But yeah, so at the start, it's like Sandy is there. They're being all goofy, and she's laughing at him, and he's like being real funny. Then there's a bit here that I find troublesome as well. It's like SpongeBob is doing like sand art, and he's like,
Yeah.
look, I'm you, or whatever. And then he does an impression of Squidward,
Yeah.
and it's like a spot-on impression of Squidward, but it's kind of really mean.
It's totally mean. It's not nice.
Yeah.
And then he makes some
And-
pizza boxes, and like the other sand jokes are fine, but yeah, the Squidward
Yeah.
one, I'm like, that's a mean impression. Don't.
Yeah.
It's accurate, but don't be mean.
Yeah, he's... Like, SpongeBob's not supposed to be the mean one.
Yeah.
Squidward's supposed to be the mean one. And even though Sandy's laughing through it, it's like, oh, that joke could have landed so much better if it was just a straight up impression of Squidward being sarcastic rather than mean, like pointing out how Squidward's always kind of a jerk. Like,
Yeah.
If he did it like without a filter of like, oh, Squidward's a jerk, like if he was just doing a straight up Squidward impression, if he played like a clarinet or whatever,
Yeah.
like if it was like that, I would have found this joke landing a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking to see if I could find exactly what he said, but I'm not seeing it. But yeah, he's being mean, and it does. It feels out of character for SpongeBob to be mean. But I think that's trying to give us like the first indication of what he later does in the episode, which is like he finds a joke that makes Sandy laugh, and then he just pushes it too far.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I got nothing on this one. It's just I like. So here's my problem. Here's my problem with this episode. My problem with this episode is that in the previous episode, they said technique like 6,003 times. And then in this episode, the premise is if you repeat a joke too much, it becomes not funny. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys just did that. Like, you just did an episode that the whole like joke of the episode was that they repeated the same thing over and over again. And then you're doing an episode about how if you repeat the same thing over and over again, it's bad. And it just I felt like the show was trying to make a point that is like, it could work as a criticism of the show. So it was weird for the show to make that point.
Yeah, it was. And then Larry rocks up and he's like, hey, let's go lift some weights. And him and Sandy are super good and lift big weights. And then SpongeBob goes and picks up a stick.
Yep. Again, like
because he has
SpongeBob
tiny little arms.
Thinks he's like a contemporary of Sandy's in everything, even though he's not.
Yeah. And it ends with Larry the Lobster picking up the stands and everyone on the stands cheering for him. And then, for some strange reason, SpongeBob thinks putting marshmallows on the stick
Yeah,
is gonna
he's like, count them. There's 2 marshmallows. Like, yeah, so?
And he can't really lift it, and this is where he rips his pants for the first time.
Yeah.
And even though he's embarrassed for like 5 seconds, as soon as everyone like stops laughing and Larry's like, "Huh, you're a crack up," and Sandy's like, "Yeah, I told you it was hilarious." It's like, oh, he starts getting confident again, and like, "Oh yeah, I'm funny." Like,
yeah.
No, that wasn't really funny. It was embarrassing. Like you should have stayed embarrassed, and you should have like. Probably dealt with it a little bit different rather than trying to replicate this scene, which he does for the rest of the show.
Just over and over and over and over.
Oh, yeah, and there's like a scene with volleyball. There's an ice cream guy at one point, and it's just like the same joke over and over. He keeps ripping his pants.
Yeah.
And, the scene with the ice cream man is the only person laughing.
Yeah, no one
is
thinks
Sandy.
It's funny.
No one else.
It's dumb. It's not funny.
And I think even Sandy at this point seems to be humoring SpongeBob.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, she kind of puts up with it longer than everybody else.
And as soon as the ice cream scene's done, it's like cut to surfing, and he wipes out after ripping his pants, and everyone's just like, boo.
And then they think he's dying, and
yeah, he wishes up on
rip my pants, get bit.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, that's lame. And this is where Sandy finally is like, I thought you were hurt. That was not funny at all, and walks away. And it's like, this is where the actual message of this whole thing rocks up, and you're like, oh, finally something decent about this show. She's like, and it comes from Sandy.
This should have been a like 2.5 minute episode, like Reef Blower. If this was a 2.5 minute episode, I think it would bother me a lot less. But I feel like it just goes on. I mean, the point that they're trying to make is
it's a little long.
It goes on too long, but it actually goes on too long. And yeah.
They could have cut out a couple of those scenes. Maybe the ice cream scene they could have cut out completely. They could probably keep the volleyball scene and the surfing scene.
Yeah, you just needed a couple of them.
Yeah.
Because it's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny in real life. Like, as a viewer of the show, the rip my pants thing isn't funny. And so that it kind of ruins the whole thing. I've just discovered something that I need to share with you.
Yeah.
The SpongeBob fandom Wikia has comments on each episode.
Okay.
So I'm looking at people's comments about this episode. 4 days ago, Aaron Don Gaming left a comment on this episode that says, "Burn in hell, 2 out of 16." Which I think is a rating. And then there's somebody named Nostalgia Monkey 21 who's left 2 comments on this episode. So his first comment on August 7th is, "This is actually my friend's favorite episode. I find it to be meh." Okay.
Fair enough.
Then there's an edit, and it says, "I think this is great now." So then, if you go to their comment from October 13th, they say, "I rewatched this today, and although I used to consider it meh, I now think it's pretty great. People say that they just reuse the same joke of SpongeBob ripping his pants over and over, and although they do it in a different way each time, and there are also other funny moments in this episode, like SpongeBob lifting the stick, and SpongeBob's pants walking away. The song is also amazing, and I really enjoy it, and this episode also has good and relatable moral. So yeah, I have to say this is probably on the upper half of season 1 in my opinion, and it's really great. It's not amazing because, well, the rip pants joke does get kind of old, and this episode really isn't too funny, but I still really like it because of the plot, moral, and what it does have to offer. This is probably somewhere around my 120th favorite episode of the show. This person's... How can you put something in the top... This is in the top 120? What? Old rating, meh. 7 out of 15? Why is your ranking scale out of 15? And new rating
I
is
don't know.
superb, 12 out of 15.
So, so this is we've come up to the same where he's like, "Oh, killed the joke." This is like, he's just put like a big no next to like the drowning one, and it's like, "Oh, this one worked out. This one worked out. This one worked out," and half of them didn't. The ones that he's listing off, half of them just didn't land with anyone but Sandy.
But he thinks they do.
Yeah. And then he's like, "No."
So
and
he
then
rips his pants off.
And then he bursts out of a porta potty essentially because he's at the beach.
Stall.
Yeah,
Not a porta potty. It's a changing stall.
Oh, okay. It's a changing stall. He bursts out and he's like, he rips his pants off. He's like, someone needs to help me because my pants have been stolen or something like that. And then he feels that there's no one around and no one's laughing, and he feels all dejected, and he's like, "We've failed, Pants," and the Pants get up and walk away. They talk to him and say, "What do you mean us? This is all on you."
Yep. The pants talk MC, isn't it funny?
I mean, no, not really, but the message of like, "Hey, this is your fault," is kind of funny because it is SpongeBob's fault and not the Pants' fault.
Yeah. I guess that's true.
And now he's left in his underwear.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm the biggest loser on the beach." And then out of nowhere, some fish lady who's been sunburnt is like, "No, I forgot to put on sunscreen."
Mm-hmm.
And then another guy comes out of nowhere and he's like, "No, I got sand in my buns." And then he pulls burgers out.
I just realized sand in my buns is talking about your butt crack.
Yep.
Wow.
And here's the thing. He pulls them out from behind his back.
Yeah. I just realized that's what that joke was supposed to be.
Yeah. And then the last one to emerge is a whale man.
Yeah.
Who emerges from underneath the sand and is like, "No, they buried me and forgot about me."
Yeah, what?
Yeah, I know. He got buried alive, and people, and we're just supposed to like skip over that. It's like, whoa, wait, they buried someone alive in this show?
Yeah,
he's
that
fine.
Was
he's
weird
fine,
to me.
but it's really weird. And then that's when they cut into the song.
Right, and it's like a Beach Boys cover. It's Be True to Your School, but instead he's singing about ripping his pants, and the crowd forms, and everybody loves it, and I guess like he realizes in the end he like was a jerk and apologizes or something.
Oh, they all rip their pants at the end of the song, and SpongeBob's only in his underwear, so you see a bit of yellow through his underwear, and it's just like, okay, yeah, that's his butt, I guess. And then
oh right, because he rips his underpants instead of ripping his actual pants. Yeah. But he's not embarrassed by that.
No, and the crowd cheers. Larry comes up and he's like, "Hey, can you sign my pants?" And then the episode ends with him bending over to sign Larry's pants, and his whole underwear just burst off his body.
And then his little sponge dick is hanging out. I mean, he
I'm not
covers
sure
it,
if that's
but
true.
we know it's there.
Yeah.
We know it's there.
And
because he's embarrassed by that one. He's not embarrassed by his butt showing, but he's embarrassed by his underpants exploding off of
his
him
peep
with the force of 1,000 suns.
Yeah, just his peep.
That's a small marshmallow treat that you eat at Easter.
And me talking about SpongeBob's penis as a peep is wrong. How then?
Do you eat marshmallow SpongeBob wieners at Easter?
No, I'm just saying it's a small yellow thing.
I guess that's true. Oh no, that's an image that's in my brain now.
And now it's probably shaped like a duck.
Thanks for listening to the best animated shows ever so far. We'll be back next week with episode 3 of SpongeBob, which includes the stories
jellyfishing and plankton.
And plankton. I didn't even look that one up. I just remembered. I was gonna get there with plankton. I had it, I swear. A peep, gross.
Thanks for listening to the best animated shows ever, so far. Find the show on Twitter at BaseSFcast or email us at basesfcast@gmail.com. That's BASESFCAST. Our intro music is Funnin' and Sunnin', and our outro music is Motivator, both by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com, and licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Thanks again for listening, and tune in next time.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
at Probably Work
for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.